We've all read the negative articles about Social Security and how it's running out of money. And there's a lot of people out there really skeptical that Social Security will be around when they really need it when they're older. Well, in this video, we're going to comment on the current status of the Social Security Trust, how much money is in there, how much longer it might be funded for, what happens when the money runs out, what our representatives in Washington, D.C. might do to fix the system, and how that can impact your financial planning. So just to set some framework for today, it might help to talk for just a minute or two about how money goes into the Social Security Trust Fund and what happens when it's in there. Social Security's been around for a long time, and for most of us who work jobs that are subject to Social Security taxes, those taxes we pay out of our paycheck are what goes into the Social Security Trust and gives us credit for future Social Security benefits. And as long as you have at least 40 quarters of work history where you've paid into the Social Security system, you're eligible for some kind of benefit when you're older. They don't have to be 40 consecutive quarters. You just have to work for a total of 10 years. So they take a little bit of money out of your paycheck. It's 6.2% of your W-2 wages. It's twice that if you're self-employed. That money comes out of your paycheck and goes into the Social Security Trust. So think of it from the trust's perspective. That's revenue into the trust. It's cash flow in. Once the cash comes in, once the revenues come into the Social Security Trust, they're invested in U.S. government bonds. Nothing else. That's the only thing they can invest in is U.S. government bonds. And then when you get to retirement age and you file for your own benefits, you file for the benefits, the money comes out of the trust to you and all the other beneficiaries. So from the trust's perspective, it has money coming in from tax receipts. It grows a little bit thanks to the interest on these U.S. government bonds. And then it has money coming out every year to pay the benefits of the retirees relying on the system. So in the early years, for a long time, it had more money coming in every year than was going out because it had more deposits and growth on the U.S. government bonds than it did draws from the beneficiaries of Social Security benefits. Well, now that's been flipped. Now the Social Security Trust has more money going out every year than it has coming in from tax receipts and the interest on the investments held inside the account. So if more money is coming out of the account every single year than is going into it, how much longer do we have before the trust fund runs out? Well, the trustees of the Social Security system, of the Social Security Trust, are required by law to produce a report every single year that comments on the status of the Social Security system. And what they do is they take a look at the number of beneficiaries pulling money out. How old are they? How long do we expect them to live? What about the number of people putting money into the account? How old are they? How much money do we expect them to make throughout their career on an aggregate basis? And so there's a lot of the demographic information and wage inflation information that we all kind of pay attention to in the economics world goes into this Social Security Trustees report. And the last one that came out, so they have to produce this every single year. I believe it comes out toward the end of the first quarter. This year's report commented that we have enough money in the trust to pay 100% of benefits until 2033. Now, if everybody in the country quit their jobs tomorrow and there was no more money going into the system, then that wouldn't be true. We would run out of money before 2033. But taking in all these demographics, all these assumptions, all these expectations based on the current status of the economy, the trustees think that we have enough money to pay 100% of benefits until 2033. And from that point forward, we will have enough money coming into the trust to pay 79% of benefits going forward. Now, going forward, how long of a period is that? It's somewhat arbitrary. I think they use the next 75 or 100 years. The point is probably moot for you and me because I don't know anybody who's going to live to 150 and collect Social Security benefits for like 75 years. The point being, we have enough money in the trust and enough money coming into it to pay 100% of benefits until 2033. So a lot of people out there are thinking that when the fund runs out of money, that the system's just going to go away and kind of evaporate, and they shouldn't expect anything from the Social Security system in return for what they're paying into the program with right now. And that's not really how it works. We have clients who don't want to incorporate any Social Security benefits into their own financial planning. I don't think that's very realistic, because the system might change. There's a number of things we can do, which I'll comment on here in just a second. But even if we completely run out of money before making any of those fixes, there will still be tax receipts coming in from Social Security wage taxes each year thereafter. And even if you might not get as much as you had hoped, it's not like the system is going to completely go away, because it'll still have money coming into it every single year. So there are a few things that our representatives in Washington can do to shore up the system. Because we are scheduled to run out of money in 2033, which by my count is less than 10 years away, I think that there's going to be increasing political pressure over the next couple election cycles to get something done. So we're going to be hearing more and more about this in the news. Now, there are only a few levers that we can pull to balance these inflows and outflows, right? One of them that a lot of people are scared about would be to reduce the amount of benefits that current retirees, current beneficiaries are already receiving. That's going to be impossible politically to get through. I don't see it happening, but I guess it's possible, right? Because if you reduce the benefits that people are getting, there's less money going out of the trust, and that helps balance the scales. Another way to do it would be to increase the revenues going into the trust by either increasing the tax rate or increasing the wage base. What that means is right now, the wages that you earn that are paying Social Security tax, you're paying 6.2% on that. They could increase from 6.2% to something higher, bring more revenue into the trust to balance the scales. The other one that I think is a little bit more likely is that they could increase the wage base. So if you make $250,000 a year in W-2 income, you're not paying Social Security taxes on all that income. You're only paying the 6.2% Social Security tax up to the wage base, which this year is around maybe $175,000. I can't remember off the top of my head. That being said, what they could do is raise that wage base from 175-ish, where it is now, to something greater. So if you're making $250,000, you're only paying the 6.2% on the first 175, and you're paying no Social Security taxes on the next, the last 75,000 of your income. They could simply raise that threshold somehow, right? It would bring more tax revenues into the Social Security trust and help balance the scales. Another one that I think that we really need to consider that hasn't garnered a whole bunch of attention yet is that we could simply increase the retirement age. So Social Security's been around for a long time. We're living much longer, much healthier lives these days. People are able to retire in ways that they never could decades and decades ago. But the retirement ages, the age at which we start collecting benefits, hasn't hardly changed at all in the last 40 years, and it's barely changed since Social Security came into existence. So with all those items in mind, it makes a lot of sense to simply raise the age at which new beneficiaries can start collecting benefits. That means that, people might not be able to retire as early as they otherwise would, but we're living much longer lives these days, and increasing the retirement age means that there's less money going out of the trust every single year, and that goes to balance the equation a little bit too. The final one that nobody's really talking about is right now, when there's money in the trust, the only thing the trust can invest in is U.S. government bonds. There's a whole bunch of different investments out there that we might consider investing some of that Social Security money in to increase the return that the funds are getting on an annual basis. I'm not talking about putting the whole thing in like Bitcoin or tech stocks or something really speculative and volatile. There's a way to blend a portfolio together to where the risk profile doesn't go up by that much, and it could squeeze out more return from the Social Security trust assets. Doing that means that there's more money coming in, and also helps balance the equation. So there's only a couple of things we can do. Raise the revenue coming into the trust by increasing the wage base or taxes, or potentially adjusting the investment mandate to allow the trust to invest in some more stuff, reducing the money that goes out of it by haircutting benefits, which is super unpopular and probably not the way that we want to go, or maybe increasing the retirement age, which might be a little bit more palatable. But those are the factors, and I think in the next 5 years, we're going to hear a lot more about those options in the news cycle. So in a nutshell, it's clear Social Security is probably going to change in the next 5 or 8 years, but I don't know that we should expect it to go away entirely. And for your own planning, I think the main question a lot of people are wondering is, should I file for Social Security earlier before it runs out of money? I don't know that that's a prudent way to go about it. And your decision of when to file depends on your health and your age and the rest of your finances and cash flow and retirement plan in general. But even if we don't make any changes at all, there will be enough money coming into the trust to fund 79% of benefits. So if you want to bake into your retirement plan a haircut in your Social Security benefits by maybe 20, 25% to account for all that, maybe that's a stress test that you want to incorporate. But outside of that, I think Social Security is going to be around. It's a really important component of our social safety net, and I don't see it going away anytime soon. That's it for today. Let me know what I missed in the comments below. This is a subject that's ripe for discussion. A lot of people are going to start talking about more and more frequently here over the next few years. And then make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you're notified when we post new videos.